It wasn't so long ago that, calculators were the size of a typewriter and computers were the size of a room. And yet here we are, relatively few number of years ahead, where our computers are as thin as paper and have more computing power than anybody could have ever predicted. We've seen massive change in industry. We've seen record companies essentially go out of business as records are converted into bits that go down a line and we are able to move songs around. We've seen the telephone industry absolutely decimated, such that long-distance calls become free and our children think nothing of dialing up on Skype to their friend across the world and doing it in full video for nothing. So when you think about what are the sort of last bastions of very large entrenched industries, the one that does jump to mind is the energy industry. And again, we're still in this paradigm of combustion. And we have a generation of children growing up who suddenly realize how incredible science has in some sense changed every industry that we knew and made it completely different. And I believe the same is happening right now in this unique time in history whereby energy, as we think of it, is going to no longer be made in a centralized plant and distributed down some long electricity line or some gas station. Instead, it has a concept very similar to a bit as a computer that is transferable. And it is in that mindset that when you think about technology coming down to the local level, so I'm able to generate, store and use electricity right where I am in my home, such that it's clean, cheap and reasonably available, I'll be able to store an electron in a device, and in some sense, I'll own it myself. In which case, if I'm owning and generating energy, generating and owning energy myself, it means I'll be able to transfer it. And if that's the case, then it looks something like light or a laser or something that enables free transport of energy. And for that, I don't need an electricity grid in between us. I mean, in some sense, the vision I see, the grid of tomorrow is no grid. And energy, very much like a computer bit, in some sense has now become free. Now imagine the world where that occurs. Is that science fiction? I don't think so, because if you only go back a relatively few years, the idea that I'm going to have a cell phone beaming energy, which is sort of how the signal gets to me, to another phone on the other side of the world, no, that'll never happen. And yet we do that every day and we think nothing of it. How quick are we, how far away are we from the point whereby energy is moved that way to light a light bulb, and we'll think nothing of it, but we'll look back on, you used a wire to transfer it? What on earth were you thinking? It is that concept that I believe is just around the corner. And when that happens, it changes, in some sense, everything about how we operate.